Welcome to Knicks Home Court with your host. My name is Greg Armstrong. This is episode number 52. Excuse the background noise, please. I am in the city and I had to get the podcast up because I don't know when I'm going to have time to sit down and take care of this business before the tip-off. So, I wanted to talk about expectations for Knicks players, Knicks teams, and Jeff Hornacek. I'm not going to get into win totals because, though it's very hard to predict. I mean, a lot of things can happen. Players get injured. Speaking of injuries, I hope that Gordon Hayward, anybody see that Gordon Hayward injury? I hope he gets well soon. I hope he has a full recovery and as soon as possible. I'm a Knicks fan. I love my Knicks. Fuck every other team, yes. However, I never want to see a player get injured. This is sports. It's not real life. It's a distraction from real life. And for the most part. And, I don't want to see somebody get hurt. I just don't want to see that. This is his career. And I hope he's fine. I hope that, he can make a speedy recovery and hopefully be back sometime this season. Now, back to the Knicks. So we're going to talk about expectations. I want to get right into it. I want to talk about Kristaps Porzingis, KP, or the Unicorn, whichever one you want to call him. Now, before I get into point totals, what I think he is capable of, what I expect from him, I want to talk about other things first as far as, I wonder what they would call this side of the game. You know how you have analytics, you have stats, and allow me to go off on a small tangent about analytics. I hear people always saying that counting stats means points per game, rebounds per game. Like analytics is not counting stats. Analytics is counting stats. They're all counting stats. With numbers, it's always counting stats. Just wanted to get that because I hear people try to say that to basically be condescending to people who like to use points per game and assists per game as stats. So now, I wonder what they would quantify leadership. Like, I wonder what they would call leadership. What they would call intimidation. Like, where would you put that stat? Like, does that go under social ability? I don't know what you would call it. I'm just curious. But anyway, I expect Kristaps to become a leader this year. I expect him to, at times, carry his team for quarters, sometimes for games. I expect that because, again, what I'm expecting from Kristaps is I'm expecting a franchise player, and these things are what's asked of a franchise player. I'm expecting Kristaps Porzingis to make his teammates better. They should be better offensively and defensively because he should be making them better. Also, that I still hear people excusing him for leaving that exit meeting, but that's not leadership. That's not leadership. Leadership is having that hard conversation with the GM and the coach. That uncomfortable conversation on behalf of your team and behalf of the franchise because you're the franchise. Kristaps has the power right now. I mean, he's the main reason they traded Carmelo. He's the main reason they fired Phil Jackson. He's the reason. So he needs to assert himself as far as that, and I expect him to do that. This is what I expect of him. If he doesn't do it, yes, I will be disappointed. If he doesn't show leadership and control. He doesn't have to be the leader, but he has to be one of the leaders. Because a lot of people are under this false pretense that the best player is always the leader, and that's not always the case. And there's many cases, and I won't even get into it. Well, I'll just show you one, for example. Allen Iverson was the best player on the 76ers, but Eric Snow was their leader. Magic Johnson was the best player on the Lakers, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the leader until he retired. So I just give you two examples of that. Now, as far as points per game, I think that I expect Kristaps to average around 24 to 26 points a game. And I know people are saying, oh, God, 26 points, that's so much, 24 points. Folks, last season, he averaged 18 points a game on 14 shots. This year, they project him to average 19 points a game. His projections, according to Basketball Reference, they have him taking 16 shots, 15.9, 16 shots a game, and averaging 19 points a game. However, I don't know if this projection was made before Carmelo was traded, because one thing I expect Kristaps to do is routinely have 20 shots a game. He should be putting up 20 plus shots a game. This is what I'm expecting from him. And if Kristaps Porzingis is putting up 20 shots a game, now remember, he averaged 18 last year on 15 shots a game. He averaged 18 on 15 shots. Now we're talking about 5 more shots, maybe 1 more 3. 5 more shots means 5 more opportunities. That means opportunities to go to the free throw line. Last year, and he needed to get to the free throw line a little bit more. Last year, he got to the free throw line almost 4 times a game. With 5 more shots, that might go up at least 1. So I expect him, and the offense is going to run through Kristaps. So whatever he does, he has the freedom to shoot every single time he has the ball. I'm not saying he should turn into Carmelo and just shoot all the time, but I expect him to shoot at least 20 plus times and not be invisible. You're the franchise guy. You're the guy. It's up to you. So I expect him to average that amount. I expect him to average rebounds 8 to 9. Like I always tell people, Kristaps Porzingis, last year he averaged 7 rebounds a game. 7. For a 7'3" guy. And you know why he's only averaging 7? Because a lot of times he plays on a perimeter. He's really a center, or how can I put it? He's really a small forward in the center's body. That's what he really wants to be. He wants to be Kevin Durant. He wants to handle the ball and do crossovers. That's where his mindset is. He wants to be a little guy even though he's a big guy. That's him. But he has to get his rebounds to around at least 9 a game. I would love to see him do a double-double and things like that. But he has to get that up. His numbers across the board need to go up. He averaged 2 blocks a game. I'd like to see that get up to 2.5 blocks a game. And I think he's capable of it. So, again, I expect him to average anywhere between 24 to 26 points a game, 8 to 9 rebounds, and 2.5 blocks. And his assist totals should go up because his usage rates will go up. And I'm sure he'll probably get double-teamed as long as he knows how to move the ball. You know. Next. Who is next? Tim Hardaway Jr. Now, I'm not going to run through the whole team. I'm just going to run through the players who are most important to the Knicks now and to their future. Some people still think Tim Hardaway shouldn't have been signed for $72 million. No matter how much you show these people that that's the going rate and the market value for a starting shooting guard, they're still going to say because it's Tim Hardaway or because it's the Knicks. It's so funny is I listen to other podcasts, and when I say I listen to other podcasts, I'm talking about I'm a basketball junkie. I listen to podcasts from the Lakers podcast. I listen to the Orlando Magic podcast. I listen to a lot of podcasts because there's rookie players coming in. I'm curious about them. I want to hear, different takes on it. And I'm curious to how other people cover their teams. And overwhelmingly, I noticed the negativity on the Knicks end as compared to other teams. And Denver just gave Gary Harris $84 million. I listened to the Nuggets podcast. They're not complaining. They're like, you know what? He's going to live up to the contract. False or not. And, I always say, I always hear this statement that numbers don't lie. But I want y'all to remember this, folks. Numbers don't lie, but they can be manipulated. Always remember that. So if somebody tells you numbers don't lie, just tell them that they can be manipulated. And how people manipulate numbers is sometimes they'll use percentages rather than the overall stat, like wins and losses. Just like they'll say an inefficient player, like some people say Hardaway is an inefficient player, but they can't account for the offensive rebound opportunities that a player like that creates by creating his own shot. For years, I've heard that Allen Iverson was so inefficient. Actually, when you look up the stats, he wasn't, but so inefficient. And I used to say, all I see is him going, and if he misses a layup, Mutombo's grabbing that rebound. Hill is grabbing a rebound. Players from the team is grabbing. Same thing with Derrick Rose. When he was in Chicago, when he was the Derrick Rose, they used to kill teams on offensive rebounds. Why? Because he put a black hole on a defense. They would have to follow him, and it would create rebounding opportunities for the big men on their team. So, is there a stat for creating your own shot and drawing attention to you? No, there isn't. So, again, the analytic community will fall short when it comes to this kind of thing. Now, what I expect from Hardaway, I expect him to also become a leader. He's going to have to be one of the leaders on the team as well. And he has to lead with his play. You see, because with Porzingis, I believe Porzingis is going to go all out all the time. He just plays hard. I think Hardaway plays hard. And I've seen a couple of things from Hardaway. Him getting on Beasley about doing crazy stuff and not passing the ball. I like that. I think that Tim Hardaway Jr. going to Atlanta, being around a winning culture, has really increased his IQ when it comes to basketball. Yeah, he may not average many assists, and you see all the turnovers, and a lot of that's because he's been trying to share the ball and he's made some nice passes in the preseason. He's trying to be a well-rounded player. The effort is there, and I want to see that continue. It becomes contagious. He's literally a professional. I think that Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to surprise some people this season because we know he has the ability, and he definitely has the athletic ability to be a good player in this league. Let's get to the points. I think he's going to average. Now, understand this. I am not a negative Nancy. I'm not a negative person. I'm a glass half full person. If you told me you want to start a business, I'm going to say good thing. Maybe you could succeed. I'm not going to say most businesses fail in the first 5 years like everybody knows. That's a negative Nancy. Most things fail. There's more failure. If you speak to most successful people, they've failed more than they succeeded. Jordan has told you that over and over again. So, I think Tim Hardaway Jr., I think he's going to average about 18 points a game. He's going to have some games where he goes for 30. He's going to have some games where he goes for 35. He's going to have some big games, and he's also going to have some games where he just has a dud, where he shoots 5 for 21. And he's going to have some of those games because he's a scorer, and he's not just a three-point shooter. They have him projected. Basketball Reference has him projected at 18 points a game. That's funny. They have him projected at 18 points a game. I would like to see him average more than three rebounds a game. He's 6'6". He can jump out the gym. There's no excuse for only averaging 3 rebounds, and there's no excuse for averaging only 2 assists. You have to keep your head up, keep your head on the swivel, move the ball, get the ball to the open man. He looked like he's willing to do that. Now, last year he averaged 5.3 field goals on 11.5 shots a game. So he averaged 11 shots a game. I expect that to go up. Probably anywhere between, let me tell you, Hardaway, I think he's going to average at least 17 shots a game. Because he's going to have some games where he's just firing. I'm telling you. That's his mentality. He believes he's a star. He believes he can be a star player. And I'm not going to tell him he's not going to be because he's only 25. Let me tell you, NBA players make it to the league because they have irrational confidence. There's only 400 NBA jobs, and there's billions of people trying to become NBA players. To tell you how hard it is to become an NBA player, the best player in your neighborhood, the best player in college, sometimes doesn't. Look at Doug McDermott. He was the best player in college. Won awards, big scorer. He's hanging on. Trey Burke was the player of the year. He's out the league. NBA is hard, folks. So you have to be irrational to think you're going to make it. And when they do make it with that irrational thinking, you can't tell them they can't do certain things. They have to have ridiculous belief in themselves. So anyway, I think Tim Hardaway is going to average about 18 points. I think Basketball Reference has it right. I think he's going to average about 18 points a game. Again, if he averages more, that's gravy. I think he's going to try to average more than 20. I think he's going to try. But as long as he's scoring within the offense, I'm fine with that. You know, if he's the Knicks' leading scorer, I'm fine with that. My expectations of Enes Kanter. Let me tell you, first of all, I expect Enes Kanter to become a fan favorite right away. Right away. Enes Kanter is a nice guy. He's a smart guy. He's a thoughtful guy. And he's a bully in the posts. And there's the one thing Knicks fans like is bullies in the posts. One thing Knicks fans like is grit. And maybe he's not gritty on defense, but he's sure gritty on the offensive boards and the rebounding. And he's definitely gritty offensively. He's a strong player. He's going to be a fan favorite before long. Everybody wants Willie Hernangomez to start, or Billy, I'm sorry, to start. I get it. He's only 22. You want to catch lightning in the bottle. Maybe he's going to turn out to be. But let me tell you this. Let me just stop you right now. Hernangomez is not going to be a star in this league. I don't believe he's going to be a star in the league. I think he's going to be a rotation player in the NBA. An important player, but a rotation player in the NBA no less. Either he's going to start. He's going to be for his career around 25 minutes a game. That's what you're going to get from him. Because, I mean, he has his limitations. He's not athletic. Which is good, though, when you don't depend on athleticism. He's slow on defense. And he's an okay offensive player, but he's a ridiculous rebounder. Back in the days, he would have been a great power forward. But that's not how the game is played today. And his Kanter, on the other hand, again, his per 36 is 24 points a game. You cannot ignore that. And his Kanter right now, he's the better player. And I'm not going to sit down the better player just because I'm romantic about what Billy could become. You know what, Billy Hernangomez? If you're that good, you earn your spot. You be better than other players. Larry Bird did it. I remember Larry Bird. If you listen, this is an old interview. You probably find it on YouTube. Let me see, how could you search for it? You probably could say, well, Larry Bird as a rookie or whatever. When Larry Bird said when he was a rookie in practice, he was dominating them. He was like, oh, this is the NBA? Oh, I'm going to dominate this league. Now, that's Larry Legend. And I'm a big fan of Larry Bird, by the way. I'm a big fan of Larry Bird. Even though I'm a Knicks fan, I think being that he was not really athletic, and he still, I mean, look at his numbers. Look at his numbers, his assist numbers, his rebound numbers. Man, look. Yeah, don't underestimate Larry Bird. But anyway, what I'm saying is, Enes Kanter in the East can play bully ball. He can set the picks. He's a big guy. He can roll to the rim. If his defense, let's be real, if his defense was at least average, Oklahoma City would not have traded him. Actually, Steven Adams wouldn't even be starting. If his defense was just average. So, you know what? I'm hoping, because I read something today that Enes Kanter was talking to Joakim Noah about defense and getting help from him on defense. If there's one thing Joakim Noah can contribute to this Knicks that's not on the court, and I always say, I'm sorry, one thing he can contribute is teaching these big guys, these bigs, how to position themselves and how to play defense. I swear, if he does that, and if Kanter is a sponge and wants to get better, because Kanter, this is the thing with Enes Kanter. Like I said, if he's an average defender, he's an all-star. He's literally that close. Because offensively, he's damn near elite. But defensively, he's one of the worst. But you say, well, he can't be on the court because he's one of the worst. But James Harden is one of the worst defenders, but he plays 30, 40 minutes a game. So how is that? Anyway, That's just something just popped in my head. I'm not going to analyze that right now. So I think he's going to average, I don't know how much playing time he's going to get, but I'm going to tell you like this. If he averages 32 to 34 minutes a game, this is important to say this, I think he'll average over 20 points. I think the Knicks have a chance to have one guy average 26, another guy average 18, and Enes Kanter average over 20 points a game. Because he's just that much of a scorer. He's just that good down low. He shoots a high percentage. He gets to the free throw line. And even if you don't pass him the ball, he's a great offensive rebounder. So I think he even possibly can lead the Knicks in scoring. I don't think that's going to happen, but he's going to be, trust me, he's going to be a pleasant surprise for the Knicks. I believe he's going to be able to put up some points. So I think he's going to average anywhere between 20 and 22 points a game. And I know, my fellow Knicks fans, I know my listeners, I know that you're probably saying, this guy here, everybody's going to score over 20. I know, I'm glass half full. But when I tell you these guys are going to average these points, I'm giving you data. I'm not going to just say this just to say it. He averaged 14 points on 20 minutes a game last year. His per 36 is 24 points a game. So it's just, if he plays more minutes, there's a chance that he can score more points. I mean, we're talking about 6 more points, folks. We're talking about 2 more free throws and a couple of offensive rebound scores per game, folks, in 10 minutes. So, in 10 more minutes, could he average 6 more points? That's all I'm saying. So that's where it is. Now, I could be completely wrong. This is just what I'm expecting from him. Hopefully, now I don't expect defensive improvement. I don't. I just don't expect it. I'm sorry. I don't. I hope he improves on defense. Like I said, if he improves on defense, he might be here after next year. He might stay. Because the guy's good, man. You saw in the playoffs, and everybody says that Oklahoma City couldn't play him in the playoffs because his defense was so bad. Yes, you are right. They could not play him. They also could not play him because they had Steven Adams. And before that, they had Steven Adams and Ibaka. So when you have that many good big men, yes, you can sit an elite scorer down because you have other options, and you had Russell Westbrook. You see? So that's why he was able to sit. So when people, like I said, things can be manipulated. He sat because they had another player, a really good player, that worked really good with Russell Westbrook and Steven Adams. That's why they was able to trade him, because they have Steven Adams. Okay? And I ain't going to lie, I would rather have Steven Adams than Kanter, because Steven Adams plays both sides of the ball. He's a good player, and he's getting better. Now, who's next? We got to talk about Frankie, baby. Maybe that should be his nickname. Frankie, baby. Since he's the youngest, since he's the baby face assassin. Frank Ntilikina. What do I expect from him this season? It's hard to really come up with expectations for him, to be honest, because I haven't really seen much of him. So this is more of a guesstimate. I can't base it on nothing. This is a guesstimate and a hope. This is hope and guessing. And a little bit of, only thing I can analyze is the fact that he's 6'5" with the long arms. And thanks for the one of my commenters. I'm sorry, I'm not looking at the YouTube comment right now, but you had mentioned, one of the comments said he was 6'5", 190 pounds. And you know what? You're absolutely correct. And that is great. That means he's not as frail as I thought, which means that he can possibly handle contact going to the rim, because he's gonna tower over the guards in the league. He's bigger than them. He's bigger than most of the guards. That's why I think Lonzo Ball is gonna be really good, because he can handle the ball and he's bigger than most guards. So, what do I expect from him? First of all, I expect tough defense. Obviously, that's why we got him. That's why, any Knicks fan that ever mentions Dennis Smith to me and these players. Now, Donovan Mitchell was a player I really liked a lot. He plays both sides of the ball, and he's an athletic wonder. I think he's going to be a really good player in this league, just like I think Dennis Smith is going to be a really good scorer in this league. But don't tell me shit about Dennis Smith and then complain about defense. We can't do that. We can't play this game. Dennis Smith was the worst defensive point guard in the college basketball last year. Literally. He's hella talented, but I don't want to hear shit about Dennis Smith. See, that's the problem. Are you a Knicks fan, or you just want to keep saying, oh, we should have drafted Dennis Smith? He's not here. He's never going to be here. We have Frank Ntilikina, and frankly, I'm happy with that. On draft night, when it got down to it, I wanted Malik Monk. Well, not in order. Let me just go back to the feeling. In draft night, I was like, when it came time for us to pick, I was so nervous. I was like, man, who are we going to pick? Is it going to be Frank Ntilikina, Malik Monk, Dennis Smith? And I have to admit, full disclosure, the last guy I wanted us to draft was Frank Ntilikina. Why? Because I didn't know him. But I had my apprehension about Malik Monk because he's not really a shooting guard. He's a hybrid. But he has a scoring mentality. Now, he can turn into a shooting version of Iverson where you put him at the shooting guard and he just lights people up. That's possible. That's very much possible that he could do something like that. And Dennis Smith. But then after the Knicks drafted Frank Ntilikina, see, Phil Jackson made his mistakes. But he's of sound mind when it comes to players. And when I started really thinking about it, you see, when you're drafting, your job when you're drafting is not to draft the best fit all the time. It's to draft to try to hit a home run. Like when he drafted Kristaps Porzingis, he was trying to hit a home run. He didn't go for the safe Justice Winslow. We know he's a good defender. He didn't go for Willie Cauley-Stein. He said, I'm trying to hit a home run. And when you draft a player like Ntilikina, you're trying to hit a home run because he's 6'5" with a 7-foot wingspan, and that French national team, that French basketball team trusted him to play major minutes in a championship run. So he's used to winning as well. What I expect from Frank is good defense, disruptive defense, high IQ. I expect him to start very soon. I mean, I think barring any injury, look, I'll be surprised if he starts tomorrow. But barring any injury, I expect Frank Ntilikina to be starting within a week. Because in the little bit of time I've seen him, he's just better than all the players they have. Now, you have to monitor his minutes because, there's a wall that he may hit. And by the way, I wanted to talk about this real quick. The injuries, or the so-called injuries to Frank and Kristaps. One thing I need to pay attention is they both played in the summer. So I'm not worried about the injuries. I think it was more of a fatigue thing. And not only that, the Knicks were able to sit them because they're already in condition. They're already in basketball shape. They're already in shape. They didn't need the work. They needed the chemistry, but they didn't need the work the other players needed. So I just wanted to get that in there. So what I expect from Frank Ntilikina, I expect about 8 points a game, 4 to 6 assists a game, and tough defense, and not be a black hole on the defensive end, to play good defense at the point of attack. That's what I'm expecting from him. Anything more than 8 points and 5 assists, or 8 points and 4 assists a game is gravy. I'm not expecting much from him, but I'm expecting tough defense because guess what? This season is about Kristaps Porzingis and Tim Hardaway Jr. That's who it's about. It's not about Frank. It's about, we want to see where Frank is going. But it's about those two guys. If Frank turns out to be better than those numbers, because you can have an impact. Let me give another example. Eric Snow, a guy I liked a lot because he wasn't a scorer. I think if you look him up, he probably averaged 8-9 points a game, but he played tough defense. He always guarded the team's best guard. I could see Frank Ntilikina doing that at times. Like if the best guard is a shooting guard on the team and the point guard doesn't really do much, I could see him guarding the shooting guard at times for a short period of time. So he doesn't need to score to make winning plays. So I expect that's the kind of player I expect. Anything more than that, gravy. Okay, I have to talk about Ron Baker since he's a part of our future. He got that contract. He got that contract because Hornacek loves him. Let's keep it real. Hornacek is a big fan of Baker. He reminds of himself, but he's not Jeff Hornacek. If he was Jeff Hornacek, we wouldn't have signed Hardaway. He's not Jeff Hornacek. But he's a tough-nosed player, a gritty player, a grimy player. You need players like that on your team. Again, I don't expect big numbers. I expect about 8 points, 4 to 5 assists, and hard-nosed basketball. He's a winning type player. He's a player you need on your team that don't care about his body. He's diving on the floor, making passes on the floor. He's going to be another fan favorite just because of his effort. One thing about New York Knicks fans, we love players who lay it all out on the floor. We love that. We love effort. You don't have to be a star, but if you give all-out effort, we love you. Now, am I missing anybody? Like I said, I'm not going to run through every single player. Let's talk about Billy Hernangomez. First of all, what I expect from him, I expect him to get at least 20 to 25 minutes a game. So being that he's not starting, I'm still expecting him to make an impact. I'm still expecting him to get major minutes at the 4 and the 5. There's going to be times he's going to pay the 4. There's going to be times he's going to pay the 5. A lot depends on what the Knicks do with Mike Beasley, which I'm not going to analyze Mike Beasley. Again, I already told you my feeling on him. I like him, but I think I believe he kills the camaraderie on offense. You know, I mean, one thing I see the Knicks have going for them is something that remind me of the Boston Celtics of today, is that what made the Celtics good is their chemistry and the way they work together and the way they trust their system and they pass the ball to each other. You got to have trust in your system and you got to have trust in your teammates. And when you have a player who doesn't play that way, it disrupts the entire offense and the chemistry. When Durant first went to Golden State, that happened. He kind of disrupted the offense in Draymond Green. There was one time he was bringing, he got the ball from Curry, and it was an end of the half situation, and Draymond Green went off, and he was like, no, that's not how we play here. You play your role. You come off a screen, you come off a down screen, you come off a curl, then you get the ball in position to score. But you don't just get the ball from Curry, and we like to move the ball 3-4 passes before a shot. That's how you work it. And by the way, remember what I told y'all a few podcasts ago when I said that the Knicks should focus on offense because they have more offensive players? This is a team that's very good, that's possibly a championship contender, in the Houston Rockets, who literally don't focus on defense at all. And they're a juggernaut offensively. Now, do I think they're going to win? No. I think would help Houston win is if they did focus a little bit on defense. But they remind me of modern-day Dallas Mavericks. People don't remember Dallas Mavericks early in Dirk's career was unstoppable offensively. What helped them win a championship is they got a few defensive pieces, which I think Houston needs, a few defensive pieces. But they're going to win a lot of games. And right now, as a Knicks fan, I want to see the Knicks win games. You know, but again, keep teaching defense, keep preaching defense, because you know what? In the last preseason game, I have seen some improvement. Maybe the philosophy's getting better. The team's rotating faster. They're young guys. So preaching defense to young guys is not really bad because they're not set in their ways yet. So, again, I'm going to give Hornacek a chance on this. I believe in Hornacek offensively. I'm going to give him a chance on the defensive end. But I just wanted to put that out there. So with Billy Hernangomez, I'm expecting 25 minutes a game. I'm expecting him to put up the similar numbers he did last year. I'm expecting him to put up about 9-10 points a game. He's going to have games where he goes for 15, 16. He's going to have games where he goes for 11, 12 rebounds. But for the most part, he's not going to average double-double because he's not going to have the minutes to average double-double. But he's going to be an integral part to this team. Now, I want to move on to another area. What else I expect from the Knicks? I want to talk about Coach Hornacek. What do I expect from Coach Hornacek? I expect him to have his team ready to play. I know some of the Knicks fans out there remember when the Knicks used to lose games and it just literally was no effort. 25 points, 30 points, just completely no effort, getting blown out, getting booed off their floor within the first quarter. I remember it was a few years ago, the Knicks used to play bad at home and play better on the road. That's a sign of weakness. So what I'm expecting from this team is to play hard the entire game. I'm expecting the Knicks to be in most games. It's going to be some teams like Golden State that's going to blow you out from the first whistle. They're going to come and they're going to hit all their shots. It's going to be a team like Houston we don't match up with to blow you out. But in a regular season, I don't want to see the Knicks down by 35 to the Brooklyn Nets. I don't want to see that in the regular season. In the preseason, that's the preseason. In the regular season, nah, that shouldn't happen. Just your own pride shouldn't let that happen. So what I'm expecting from the Knicks, which comes from the coach, is playing hard. I want to see the Knicks team run through a brick wall for Hornacek. That's very important. His job depends on it. His job does not depend on wins and losses. His job depends on how much the team is willing to run through a brick wall for him. How much the team is willing, how hard the team is willing to play for him. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm expecting. And if he can't do that as a coach, then he's not the coach for this team. I would prefer the Knicks to stay with the same coach for years and not have Kristaps have his third. How many coaches has Kristaps has already? I mean, Melo had 5 coaches. So you can't, I mean, look at that. Kristaps has had Derek Fisher, who he did like, by the way, who the team rallied around, by the way. It wasn't until Phil said, run my system, where the shit fell apart. He had Rambis for a few minutes, and now he got Hornacek. Now, I don't think him and Hornacek is that cool. I really don't think they have a great relationship. But that's not important. Now, let me change that. That is definitely important. However, if you're coaching the team, young player, Kristaps want to win. And Kristaps is a young player, and he can be won over. You don't have to like your coach if he's a good coach. You know how many players hated Pat Riley, the way he used to run players in the ground? But he was a great coach. And they knew it. And that's, you ball out for coaches like that. And then after the game, you're like, fuck, I hate this motherfucker. But he knows what he's talking about. I mean, my best teacher was the one I hated the most. Think about y'all best teachers in school was probably the one who was the hardest on you and the one you probably didn't like. And then when you became a grown-up, you realized, damn, that was a great teacher. Because a great coach, a great teacher is willing, a great friend is willing to go to war with you at times to put you on the right path. To put you on the right path and a positive path that's better for you. That's why you can't have yes men around you that just listen to everything you say. You have to have people around you that's willing to tell you what it is. So I'm expecting leadership from him first and foremost. And I want to see some certainty. As a coach, he should be certain what his rotation is. Stick with it. Give it 2 weeks. See how it works. This team is not full of world beaters. I expect him to settle into a 10-man rotation. And I don't know who's going to be in it, but I expect him to coach like he's supposed to. And lastly, I expect, actually, I'm going to say what I don't expect. I don't expect the Knicks to be eliminated from playoff contention within the first month of playing. I hope, and I don't expect that. You know, I mean, again, if the Knicks, and now I'm hearing people echo it. I don't know if they listen to my podcast because some people will listen. If the Knicks only win like 21 games this season and Kristaps is healthy the entire season, then folks, I'm not sure if he's a franchise player. At least not yet. Not saying he can't become one. But it's time to take the training wheels off. It's time to stop coddling him. You know, it's time. I'm looking forward to this season. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to seeing the young players. This is the one time I can say that, again, win or loss, I'm still excited to see the Knicks young players. And I'm excited to see them playing hard and a brand of basketball that I can fucking enjoy. Because, again, I always say I like the triangle offense, but if you're going to play it reluctantly, it's going to look like shit. So now they're playing an offense that they want to play, enjoyable to watch. I'm really looking forward to the season opener. So, to take a page out of that wax song, go New York, go New York, go. No, I stop. I hate that fucking song. Anyway, this has been the Knicks podcast, Knicks Home Court podcast. I am your host, Greg Armstrong. Peace.